Hi everyone, I'm Shaylin here with Reedsy. This week we're going to be talking about writing thrillers. We're going to start in this video by just doing a general overview of how to write a thriller, and on Friday we're going to be talking about thriller tropes that you can either embrace or maybe want to avoid in your thriller novel. Thrillers are a super popular genre, and for good reason. They're hard to put down once you start reading them, at least if the author has written a good one. They're fast-paced and feature high tension, tons of conflict, suspense, unexpected twists. They're usually high on action and feature a darker or intense tone, with plot twists and shocking endings being a staple of this genre. The genre is often mixed up with horror and mystery, so if you want a more detailed breakdown on literary genres, you can check out our video breaking down all the different literary genres, which I'll link in the cards and in the description. Now within the thriller genre, like with pretty much any genre, there are a ton of different subgenres, including but not limited to political, espionage, psychological, supernatural, crime, legal, mystery, domestic, and more, and they can certainly overlap. You can certainly have a thriller that falls into more than one of these subgenres. For example, if you're writing a historical mystery thriller or a psychological domestic thriller. Thrillers can also overlap with pretty much any other genre. You could have a thriller romance, you could have a historical thriller, you could have a fantasy thriller, you could have a sci-fi thriller. Thriller is a really versatile genre that you'll kind of see bleed into other genres all the time. So even if you're not writing kind of just like a pure direct thriller, I hope the tips in this video can help. Now thrillers are meant to be readable and un-put-downable. That really is the goal. So you want to err a bit on the shorter side in terms of word count. 70 to 90,000 would be ideal, although they can go a little bit longer, but you really don't want to go anywhere longer than 100,000. That really puts you into the realm of kind of like a denser book, and that's not really what thrillers are meant to be. You know, a lot of the time you'll even find with thrillers that they're printed with larger print or larger spacing compared to, say, a fantasy novel, where the genre expectation is that it's going to be dense and it's going to take a long time to read, and that's to give the illusion of the pages turning faster, even though it's not necessarily an illusion. Thrillers do tend to have a faster pace, but it's part of why you'll see that kind of formatting in a lot of thrillers, because that's what the reading experience is meant to be like. So too long and the book will kind of lose that snappy, fast-paced feeling that a thriller is meant to have. So you really want to be careful with your word count in thrillers. So let's break this down in just 7 steps for writing an excellent thriller novel. First of all is to flesh out your characters and their motivations. Obviously this is key in any genre, but it's especially important in a thriller where motivations and kind of the shifting or revealing of motivations can be so important. As well, having complex characters is what's going to add that interesting moral texture to the often dark, gripping plotline that you'll find in a thriller. You really need interesting, complex characters to supplement that. Identify what your character's ultimate goal is and why they want what they want, and maybe most importantly, what they're willing to do to get it. How does this character react in the face of adversity, since they're probably going to be put in some pretty intense situations? Many thrillers also feature anti-heroes or unreliable narrators. We do have videos on both of those topics, so I'll leave them in the description for you to check out. Step number 2 is to start with action. Now again, and I'm probably going to say this throughout the video, a strong opening scene is important in any genre, but there's a specific recipe to creating an excellent opening for a thriller. With a thriller, you probably want to start in a pretty intense, high-stakes moment. Thrillers typically start with a bang, often in media res, so in the middle of a conflict. Start with your character already in a high-stakes scenario. Show us the character in an exciting moment. With a thriller especially, readers are here for the mystery. You don't need to answer all the questions right away. So in The Bourne Identity, the book starts with a character getting shot and then falling off of a boat in the Mediterranean and then getting rescued by a fishing boat. We don't know anything about the character, we don't even really know anything about the plot, but it's intriguing, and that's what's most important. Step number 3 is to raise the stakes. We've got an entire video on ways to raise the stakes in your writing, so I'll leave a link to that, but high stakes are really a staple of the thriller genre. If the stakes are low, it's not really a thriller. Even a story with a kind of tighter, smaller scope, say you're writing a domestic thriller that focuses just around one family, the emotional and personal stakes should be as high as possible for the characters. So their relationships or a core aspect of their lives should be on the line, even if the scope might seem a little smaller. But many thrillers also feature broader scopes with an entire city or an entire planet, say if it's like a sci-fi thriller, on the line. And we really need to feel the intensity of those stakes. There should probably some kind of ticking clock, so some kind of time limit on the problem, really ramping up up the tension. Step number 4, make it difficult for your protagonist. In order to create the level of stakes needed for a thriller, the reader needs to be significantly worried about the main character's fate. Put them in situations where we're not sure if they're going to succeed or not sure if they're going to survive. Situations ramp up the stakes, they keep the reader reading, and they also make it clear that the problem is going to be hard to solve. If the character doesn't face some significant hardship along the way, the reader might doubt the validity of the stakes. Is this problem really going to be that hard to solve? But if your character is facing near-death experiences along the way, it really showcases the importance and the significance of the conflict and the character's role in it. Step number 5. Bring on the plot twists. We also have an entire video on plot twists that you can check out. I'll leave a link to that. But many thrillers live and die by their twists, maybe more than any other genre. In other genres, you won't find a plot twist in every single book, or even the majority of books, but in thrillers, they're almost a given. Because of that, it means you need to create a really good one. The more a reader is expecting a twist, the more they're going to be on the lookout for the clues, the more adept they're probably going to be at calling twists, the more they've probably encountered a range of plot twists in the past, so you really need to be on top of your plot twist game if you're writing in this genre. It's not that every single thriller needs to have a plot twist. They don't all need one. It's not necessary, but it's very, very common. So ask yourself these questions to see if your plot twist is strong enough. First of all, is the protagonist acting actively? Are they involved in the twist? Or are they kind of just sitting back passively watching the plot twist unfold in front of them without any actual role in it? Number 2, quite simply, is there any way to make the plot twist more exciting? Number 3, also quite simply, is there any way to make the plot twist more important, to thread in more stakes? And finally, number 4, what is the worst thing that could possibly happen to the protagonist right now? When you're constructing a twist, try to use the information you already have on hand. Most good twists don't just drastically change the plot's direction. This can be a kind of like a plot whiplash where, sure, it's shocking, but it doesn't really make sense in retrospect. It doesn't really build on anything previous. What the best plot twists do is take all of the little pieces and click them into place. So look at the information you're already working with and see how you can create a plot twist from there. Step 6 is to create the story's climax. Thrillers are known for having punchy endings. Again, it's just a convention of the genre. A weak ending is a weak thriller. Whether it's, a high stakes situation that comes down to the wire, or we have a big plot twist or a reveal, a weak ending is just a letdown in this genre. Because of this, you probably want to know how your book is going to end when you start writing it, more than in most genres. There are certainly genres and stories where you can write without really knowing where it's going, but you probably want to know how your thriller is going to end before you start writing it, so you can properly lay the groundwork, especially if you're planning some kind of twist or reveal. And step 7, create a satisfying ending. If you're writing a series, you especially want to hook the reader's attention so that they come back for book 2. If it's a standalone, you might choose to end things a little ambiguously or leave some things up to the reader's interpretation. You might also choose to tie up all loose threads. These are both valid options. However, there is a difference between ending ambiguously and not wrapping up the conflict. Even if you end the story on an ambiguous note, you should make sure you wrap up the main story thread, or else it'll just feel like the book is unfinished. You can still leave us with a couple mysteries, but make sure you actually wrap up the action, or else it'll just feel like the book ended before we got to the end, rather than ending ambiguously. Now finally, for a couple bonus tips to keep in mind while you're writing a thriller. First of all, cut down anything that bogs down the pacing. I've said it a couple times, but thrillers really do rely on fast pacing and really kind of snappy, punchy plot lines. You don't want to have any kind of filler weighing that down. Extra side plot development or less exciting scenes that just focus on mundane details don't really do much in a thriller, so do your best to cut them. Second of all, don't mislead the reader. Now look, I don't mean don't have a plot twist, don't implement a red herring. What I mean by this is don't market your book as a thriller when it's not. Many writers confuse thrillers with other genres, especially with mystery. A procedural mystery with a subtler tone isn't a thriller, and if you market it as one or mislabel it as one, you'll be drawing in the wrong readers. This is actually a fairly common mistake because a lot of people struggle to know the difference between a mystery and a thriller. But there is a difference, and you will be attracting the wrong readers and giving the wrong impression of your book if you mislabel your book as a thriller when it's just quite simply not one. And finally, be imaginative. Don't let your imagination be bogged down by what's expected. Sure, like all genres, there are tropes that recur throughout the thriller genre, but also, like all genres, what's most exciting is when a book is original and imaginative and either subverts something expected or brings in a completely new element that hasn't been done before. Thrillers and their respective plot twists are most exciting when they're surprising. If that means breaking a couple genre norms, then so be it. So as a summary, thrillers feature fast-paced plot lines with high tension, high suspense, and often unexpected twists. When you're writing a thriller, try to keep it around the 70 to 90,000 word range. Any longer and the book can start to lose that snappy, quick-paced feel that thriller readers are looking for. Focus on complex character motivations to supplement the exciting plotline, or else the plotline can feel kind of thin. Make sure you're continually raising the stakes by making things difficult for your protagonist. Plot twists are common in this genre, and it's likely you'll want to include one, but do your best to think outside the box and rely on small and subtle clues that you've planted into the story, rather than throwing in an unexpected event, as this can seem a little random. Remember to cut down anything that might bog or weigh down the pacing, and don't be afraid to think outside the box. Be imaginative. That's often the most exciting and important ingredient in a good thriller. That's how to write a thriller. Let me know what your favorite thrillers are. I'll also leave a link to a blog post on 22 of the best psychological thrillers that you could check out if you're looking for some inspiration in this genre. And along with that, have you ever written a thriller? Let me know in the comments what your experience was writing in this genre. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any new videos from us. We've got new writing, editing, and publishing tips every Tuesday and Friday. Until next time.